In this video, I'm going to show you a very quick and simple way of creating beautiful portraits, even if you haven't got the best of circumstances to do it from. So let me just explain a bit of the background. So I was asked to photograph an event, and I'm going to show you how I turned this photo into this photo. Now, at the event, I was faced with many challenges, so let me just explain the background to how this photo was taken. So first of all, we're in a room with a big table because there's actually going to be a dinner later on in the evening. So the table's in my foreground, so I had to stand at the other side of the table. I've got an off-camera flash. Now, if you don't know how to use off-camera flash, we'll put a link to a video that explains how to do that up here. And I've got a 24-70 lens on my Sony a7R5. Now, this lens I'm using actually only goes down to f4. I'd really like to have gone wider, and in the next few months I'll probably purchase something that'll do f2.8. I'm just trying to evaluate what I should go for. If you have any ideas, leave that in the comments. Now, so I've got my lens 4, I've got off-camera flash as I mentioned, I've got my shutter speed set to a 60th because I'm doing this handheld, I've got my ISO at 1000, and we're at about a 68mm zoom. And as you can see, the photograph's a little bit overexposed. I should have probably pulled the flash back a bit. However, let me show you how I developed that and turned it into the finished photo. And it's really very quick and simple to do. So the first thing I do is simply I just hit auto on the exposure to see what that'll do. And straight away it's dealt with many of the problems I've got. I've got a little bit of a highlight behind here. I can probably just take that out by cloning that out later in Photoshop, or I could try the masking tool in Lightroom. But in the meantime, so my exposure is quite good. I'm not quite happy with the highlights, so I'm just going to pull them down a little bit lower now, and I'm probably just going to boost up the shadows just a tiny bit too. The rest of it, maybe the whites are a little bit too much, so I'm going to tweak the whites. If you press the option key, you can see how much of the photo is white, and I'm just going to pull them down. There's some just little spots of white there, so I'm just pulling them back a little bit. And then the other thing I'm going to do is level it, just make sure everything is level. And I'm simply just going to click auto on the transform button as well, and as you can see, it's not really made any changes. Now the next thing I want to do is play with the composition. I want to crop in a lot tighter on my subjects, so I'll go to the crop tool. I'm going to keep the ratio as it was originally and just bring this in so that my subjects fill the frame, and I'm trying to end up with the two heads somewhere on the thirds of the composition, so maybe something like that. Okay, so we'll commit to that, and then I'm going to put on a vignette and just darken the edges. And then the final thing I want to do is now use the lens blur tool, and you'll find that up here. It's what they call an early access tool. Let me find it. And if you just tick apply, you can see what the basic functions do. And now what Lightroom is doing, it's basically creating a mask of the two subjects, and then deciding what is the subject, and it's going to apply a blur effect to the background. And as you can see, I think straight out of the box that it's done a pretty good job. And you can alter the amount of blur. I'll just show you for exaggeration purposes. Let me put it right up to 100, and you'll see now. I'll give it a second or two for it to compute, and you'll see it blurs the background even more. There we go. So that's it with it 100% blurred, and I think that's a bit too much, but you can play with that to get just what you want. So let me pull that back closer to 50. Now, if you want to visualize what it's going to do, this little box here that says visualize depth, it'll show you the foreground and the background. So everything in yellow here is what it's treating as foreground, so it's not going to blur that. At the other end of the scale, the background is everything in purple, and as you play with that, it'll show you what it's going to affect. And it's as simple as that. So let me take that off. That was it. That was a very quick and simple way of editing a portrait photo. Just one other thing I would like to know from you guys. So any of you who regularly watch this channel, is there anything else I can do to help? Would it help if I produce something like an ebook with photo tips in? or would it help if there were some quick cheat sheets that you could download from a website or something like that? Let me know if that would help you. In the meantime, I hope you have some fun with the camera. I hope this helps you to get a bit more confidence with taking portraits and editing them. And I'll see you next time.